follow up on the same thing, it's almost a similar question. If we take into consideration Willinsky's statement on viral loads and transmissibility, vaccinated, infected people was nearly indistinguishable from what was found in unvaccinated people. Then why are there different compliances being placed for vaccinated versus unvaccinated people?
Can I address that, John? So this is based on an outbreak that occurred in a place called Provincetown, which on the 4th of July, there's a big celebration that occurs in Provincetown, and it's a happy occasion where lots of people, mostly males, get together and are very intimate with each other. So they studied the outbreak, and they found that a lot of the people that became infected and had been vaccinated, and they looked at the viral loads in their nasal passages. Now, the way you calculate the viral load is you do a test called a PCR, and the number of cycles the PCR goes through tells us how much virus there was. So if you really have to amplify the virus a lot, there's a lot of cycles. That means the viral load was low. And they found in a lot of these patients, it was similar. The cycles were similar. But then when they looked at it further, they also found that the vaccinated people shed virus a lot less longer. So, for 2 days versus 10 days in somebody else. And even though they were finding the virus fragments through the PCR, they were not culturable in a lot of the vaccinated patients. So what that meant was the viral particles were coated with antibody. And even though the PCR was picking up the viral particle, it really wasn't as infectious. So you had equal amounts of viral particles, but they were less infectious. They were shed for much less longer. And clearly the vaccine did make a difference, even in that Provincetown outbreak.
So I think I want to clarify one follow-up on there, right? This is for symptomatic people that we're talking about. But for asymptomatic people, vaccinated versus unvaccinated, the viral load is not similar. Is that correct?
Correct. For asymptomatic patients, if you're vaccinated, the viral loads are much lower than an unvaccinated. And they've looked at spread. There are times when a person who's vaccinated picks up this infection, goes home, and they have a couple of unvaccinated people at home, and frequently doesn't spread. But if you have the converse, if you have the unvaccinated coming in infected, there's a routine spread to most everybody. So it is far less contagious when you're vaccinated.
Any follow-up questions from the audience?